happens to a woman's life when she finally decides that her time, her peace, and her heart are no longer available to men who haven't earned access to them? Because that's the real question every woman over 30 must ask. Not out of fear, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. When you reach this stage of life, something shifts. You're not impressed by charm. You're not swayed by promises. You're not interested in fixing broken potential. What matters now is effort, consistency, and character. And yet, so many women still find themselves pouring care, attention, and emotional labor into men who offer the bare minimum, not because they're weak, but because they're hopeful, because you believe in connection, because you were raised to be understanding, compassionate, patient. And while those qualities are beautiful, they become painful when given to someone who hasn't shown he can hold them. The truth is this: whatever you invest in grows, but not everything you invest in is worthy of growth. Why is your emotional energy so valuable? Because it is the very core of what makes you feel alive, connected, and seen. Every ounce of care, attention, and affection that you offer shapes not only the way a man experiences you, but also how you experience yourself. When you give it freely to someone who cannot meet you in kind, it leaves a void in your own life, a depletion that no amount of hope or daydreaming can fill. Emotional energy is not a resource to be squandered. It is a currency, and like any currency, it must be spent wisely. The people who receive it without earning it are not poor, they are opportunists. And the cost of giving it away too freely is far greater than most women realize. Think about it this way. Every time you lower your standards or excuse inconsistent behavior, you are signaling to the universe what is acceptable in your life. You are teaching men how to treat you. And if you are investing in someone who has not shown that he values your heart, you are teaching him that minimal effort is sufficient. That is the cruel irony. The very patience, compassion, and understanding that make you remarkable become the very tools that allow someone else's immaturity to thrive. It's not that men are inherently bad or that they are incapable of growth. Many are capable, but not all are ready. And that readiness is not measured by words, intentions, or promises. It is measured by consistent action over time. It is measured by reliability in small moments, accountability in conflicts, and respect for boundaries when you assert them. When a man demonstrates these things, he shows that your emotional investment is safe. He earns the privilege of your trust, your vulnerability, and your love. Until that proof is there, your energy is a treasure you must protect. Now, I want you to picture this. A garden. Your heart is the soil. Your energy is the water. If you pour your water into barren ground, into soil that refuses to nurture growth, the garden will wither. You will feel drained, disappointed, maybe even disillusioned. But when you pour your energy into fertile soil, someone who matches your effort, who respects your heart, the garden blooms. Love blossoms. Trust flourishes. Happiness multiplies. That is why discerning where you invest is not a luxury. It is essential. Many women over 30 reach a point where they realize that being nice or available does not equate to being loved. The world has spent decades telling women that patience is virtue, that compromise is proof of worthiness, that emotional labor is love. But life after 30 clarifies one truth: unconditional giving without reciprocity is not love. It is exhaustion masquerading as hope. You are not responsible for fixing a man's past, teaching him emotional literacy, or tolerating behavior that chips away at your self-worth. Your responsibility is to yourself, and your responsibility is sacred. This is where boundaries become revolutionary. Boundaries are not walls. They are invitations, inviting the right person to rise, to show up, to invest as fully as you do. Boundaries filter the noise and focus your energy where it belongs. A man who respects your boundaries is telling you that he sees you as a whole person, not an option, not a convenience, not a project. He is saying without words, I am ready for the kind of connection that matches the one you are capable of giving. And let's be honest, boundaries are hard to enforce. It's uncomfortable to say no when your heart wants to say yes. It's tempting to stay in situations that feel familiar, even when they're painful, because the alternative feels lonely. But here's the truth. The pain of discipline, of holding your standards, is always lighter than the weight of disappointment that comes from giving your heart away to someone unprepared. When you choose wisely, when you protect your emotional energy, you are not closing off possibility. You are opening the door to a love that is deep, real, and sustainable. At this stage in life, it's no longer about settling. It's about alignment. It's about recognizing the difference between someone who merely occupies space in your life and someone who elevates it. Your emotional energy is not meant for a man's potential. It is meant for his presence. Potential is a gamble. Presence is a promise kept over and over again. The universe rewards discernment. It responds to clarity. And when you stop giving yourself to those who haven't earned you, you signal to life that you are ready for a partner who does. This is why reflection becomes so important. Ask yourself, who in my past received my energy without earning it? Where did I compromise my peace for someone else's inconsistency? What patterns am I repeating because I mistook hope for action? Self-awareness is not judgment, it is illumination. When you understand the ways you've been giving too freely, you gain the power to redirect that energy toward men who are capable of receiving it, valuing it, and returning it in equal measure. Your emotional energy is intimately tied to your self-esteem. Every time you accept less than what you deserve, your self-esteem erodes little by little. But every time you hold your line, every time you insist on reciprocity, you reinforce your worth. You teach yourself and the men you attract that your heart is precious, that your time is sacred, that your love is not a free commodity. And let me be clear, this is not a lesson in cynicism. It is a lesson in wisdom. It is not about becoming cold or detached. It is about being deliberate, intentional, and fiercely protective of what is yours. Real love thrives in this space. It is not anxious, desperate, or frantic. It is grounded, mutual, and nourishing. When you stop investing in men who haven't earned you, you stop chasing illusions and start creating reality. Imagine a life where you give your attention, your care, and your love only to those who have earned it. Imagine relationships where communication is effortless, respect is consistent, and emotional labor is shared. Imagine the relief of knowing that when you open your heart, it is not met with scarcity or neglect, but with abundance and reciprocity. That life is not a fantasy. It is the reward of choosing wisely, of protecting your energy, and of insisting on the love you deserve. Your emotional energy is a gift. Treat it as such. Guard it fiercely. Invest it only where it is cherished. Because the moment you do, everything changes. The wrong men fall away naturally. The right men rise to meet you. And you discover that the love you thought was impossible is not only possible, it is inevitable because it is built on the foundation of respect, consistency, and mutual devotion. You are not here to carry the weight of someone else's unearned love. You are here to be fully, unapologetically, gloriously yourself, and to attract someone who honors that with every fiber of his being. Every time you choose to hold your energy, you are choosing freedom. You are choosing joy. You are choosing love that doesn't deplete you but completes you. So, start today. Examine where you've been giving too much, demanding too little, and hoping for what never arrived. Begin the practice of earning your own space, your own happiness, and your own boundaries. And trust this, the woman who values her emotional energy is the woman the universe rewards with love that is real, whole, and unwavering. Because when your energy is protected, your heart is safe. And when your heart is safe, love is no longer a gamble. It is a certainty. Let's talk about the early behaviors, the small, almost invisible signals that reveal whether a man is ready for a real connection. Because too often, women over 30 get swept up in charm, wit, or clever words only to discover months later that his actions told a very different story. The truth is that the foundation of lasting intimacy is built not on what a man promises, but on what he consistently does, even when no one is watching. The first behavior to notice is consistency. Does he follow through on the things he says? Does he show up when he says he will? Call when he promises? Remember the details that matter to you? Real connection is not forged in grand gestures alone. It's built in reliability. A man who is inconsistent early on, who disappears for days without explanation, or who shows excitement one moment and indifference the next, is signaling that he has not yet developed the discipline or emotional maturity necessary for a healthy partnership. The second behavior is respect for boundaries. Pay attention to how he reacts when you assert yourself. Does he honor your time, your space, your emotional limits, or does he push past them with excuses, charm, or guilt? A man ready for connection will never make you feel bad for holding standards or saying no. He will see your boundaries as a roadmap for how to love you correctly, not as obstacles to overcome. In contrast, a man who resents your boundaries or tries to negotiate them is revealing that his capacity for genuine intimacy is not yet mature. Third is emotional availability. Watch how he communicates about his feelings and notice whether he listens to yours. A man who is ready for real connection does not shy away from vulnerability. He can express frustration, excitement, fear, or joy without shutting down or deflecting. He also engages with your emotions with empathy rather than minimizing or ignoring them. Early avoidance of emotional engagement is a flashing red light. It's not about you. It's about his readiness to be present. Fourth, observe his accountability. Does he take responsibility for mistakes or does he deflect blame? Does he apologize sincerely or does he justify his behavior to avoid discomfort? A man who can own his actions demonstrates a level of integrity and maturity essential for lasting love. Accountability is not only about the big moments, it's in the small ones too. How he handles a disagreement over dinner plans or how he treats a stranger in public tells you volumes about his character. Fifth, examine how he invests in your life without expectation. A man ready for connection doesn't only take, he contributes. He shows interest in your passions, your goals, your challenges. He offers support when needed, celebrates your victories without envy, and is genuinely curious about who you are beyond your relationship with him. Early self-centeredness, where his needs, his desires, his schedule always come first, is a sign that the depth of connection he can offer may be limited. Sixth is patience. Does he allow intimacy to grow naturally? Or does he push for rapid escalation for physical or emotional closeness before the foundation is set? Readiness for connection is slow, deliberate, and conscious. A man in a rush may be motivated by desire, loneliness, or ego, not by a true capacity for building partnership. Patience reveals a man's respect for the rhythm of your heart, not just the timing of his own gratification. Seventh, notice how he treats other people. This is an early litmus test for his character. Watch how he interacts with servers, family, friends, and even strangers. Does he show empathy, kindness, and integrity? Or is he dismissive, impatient, or self-centered? A man who cannot consistently show decency outside of the relationship is unlikely to demonstrate it inside. Eighth, observe his curiosity about growth. Is he engaged in self-improvement, learning from mistakes, reflecting on his behavior, or does he resist introspection? A man who is ready for real connection understands that love is not static. It requires self-awareness, adaptation, and growth. He will seek to understand himself and by extension, to understand you so the partnership can flourish rather than stagnate. Finally, notice how he handles conflict. Early disagreements, even small ones, reveal a man's capacity for respect and communication. Does he listen and collaborate, or does he become defensive, dismissive, or controlling? Connection is tested most when there is tension, not in moments of ease. If he cannot navigate friction with maturity early on, it is unlikely that he will handle life's inevitable challenges with you later. All of these behaviors, consistency, respect for boundaries, emotional availability, accountability, investment, patience, decency toward others, curiosity about growth, and conflict management, are subtle but undeniable indicators. They are the fingerprints of a man's readiness to love. They are the early signals that distinguish fleeting infatuation from sustainable partnership. Women over 30 must learn to read these signs with clarity without being swayed by charm or wishful thinking, because ignoring these early behaviors often leads to years of frustration, compromise, and heartbreak. The cost of overlooking them is the expenditure of your most valuable asset, your emotional energy. And once that energy is spent, it is not easily replenished. Choosing a man who demonstrates these behaviors is not about perfection. It's about preparedness. It's about finding someone whose actions align with his words, whose character supports your standards, whose presence nurtures rather than depletes. When you pay attention to these early signals, you save yourself from investing in a man who is not ready, and you create the space for someone who is capable of the depth, respect, and consistency you deserve. Your role is not to mold, fix, or transform him. Your role is to notice, assess, and decide, because real connection is earned, not hoped for. And when a man earns it, your heart can open fully without fear, without compromise, and without reservation. Let's explore a truth that many women over 30 discover the hard way. The quality of the men you attract is a direct reflection of the way you invest in yourself. It's not a magic trick, and it's not about playing games. It's about alignment. When you honor yourself, nurture your passions, and cultivate your own life, you send a clear signal to the universe and to every man you encounter about the level of love and respect you expect. Investing in yourself begins with self-awareness. Knowing who you are, what you value, and what you will and will not accept in a relationship creates a magnetic energy. Confidence is irresistible, not because it is loud or boastful, but because it communicates stability. A woman who invests in herself knows her worth. She doesn't need external validation to feel complete. Has cultivated a life she loves, friendships that nurture her, and routines that reinforce her health and happiness. This completeness naturally filters out men who are looking for someone to fill a void, and it attracts men who can contribute to a partnership of equals. Next is emotional investment in yourself. This is the most undervalued form of self-care. Emotional investment means learning to process your own feelings, to heal from past wounds, and to maintain boundaries that protect your mental and emotional well-being. When you take the time to understand yourself, you stop seeking validation from someone who is not capable of giving it. You become a woman whose emotional energy is intentional, not reactive, and men who are emotionally mature are drawn to that energy. Conversely, men who are not ready for real connection will be repelled, not because you are unkind, but because you are no longer available to supply what they cannot give themselves. Physical investment in yourself also matters. This is not about perfection or societal standards. It's about honoring your body as your temple. Exercise, nutrition, rest, and even the simple act of dressing in a way that makes you feel good create confidence that radiates outward. A woman who values her body communicates a sense of self-respect that men notice, even subconsciously. This is why men who are serious and capable of commitment are naturally drawn to women who treat themselves with care. They recognize a partner who can participate fully in life, not someone to drag along or take for granted. Financial and career investment is another key layer. A woman who is self-sufficient, ambitious, and responsible demonstrates a level of maturity that sets a high standard for partnership. She is not looking for a man to complete her. She is looking for someone to complement her. This eliminates the men who are seeking dependency or entitlement and attracts those who are confident, ambitious, and willing to meet her at eye level. Men who are serious about building a life with a woman over 30 are often evaluating her drive, her focus, and the integrity with which she runs her own life. The stronger her foundation, the higher the caliber of the man who can meet her in it. Another crucial aspect of investing in yourself is cultivating your passions and interests outside of a relationship. Women who pursue hobbies, continue learning, travel, or engage in creative endeavors create a life rich with purpose. When your world does not revolve around waiting for a man, you are living fully, and men who are truly ready for connection are drawn to that fullness. Conversely, men who are not ready may feel threatened by it, intimidated by your independence, or simply disinterested because they seek someone to orbit their own needs instead of orbiting life fully with them. Investing in yourself also involves mental and spiritual growth. Reading, reflecting, meditating, exploring your values. These are practices that deepen your sense of self. They refine your emotional intelligence, sharpen your judgment, and enhance your empathy. A woman who is mentally and spiritually engaged brings depth to a relationship, attracting men who are capable of meaningful dialogue, emotional nuance, and authentic vulnerability. Shallow engagement or lack of self-reflection often attracts men who are equally shallow in their own capacity for intimacy. Self-investment also reinforces your boundaries. When you dedicate energy to your own growth, your standards become non-negotiable because you understand the cost of compromising them. You no longer tolerate inconsistency, disrespect, or emotional scarcity. Men sense this immediately. The quality of men who are willing and able to meet you at this level is higher because they are tested subtly but consistently by your presence, your choices, and your boundaries. Let's be clear. Investing in yourself is not a strategy to trap a man or make him want you. It is a declaration of self-worth. It is an understanding that your life is already full, meaningful, and valuable, and you will only allow a relationship that enhances, not defines, that life. This is why women over 30 often notice a shift in the types of men who appear once they begin investing seriously in themselves. The energy you radiate changes, the men who are drawn to you change, and the men who are incapable of rising to your level naturally fall away, leaving space for someone who is ready to meet you fully. Investing in yourself is also a daily practice of self-respect. It is choosing what nourishes you emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. It is refusing to give your time and energy to someone who cannot, in return, show up fully. This is not rejection. It is discernment. And is the very thing that ensures the quality of men you attract aligns with your worth. Finally, investing in yourself teaches patience. When you know your value, you are no longer in a rush. You understand that love worth having is worth waiting for. You are not desperate for connection or validation, and you are not willing to compromise your standards out of fear of loneliness. This patience creates a filter for relationships that is subtle but powerful. Men who are ready will be patient with your process, consistent with their efforts, and intentional in their actions. Men who are not ready will reveal themselves early, saving you years of energy and heartache. When you invest in yourself, you create a magnetic field that draws men who are capable of contributing meaningfully to a partnership. You become the woman who does not chase, beg, or compromise. You become a woman whose presence demands respect, whose standards command attention, and whose love is cherished because it is earned. This is the transformation that shifts not only the quality of men you attract, but the quality of life you live, the depth of love you experience, and the alignment of your heart with a partner who is ready, capable, and worthy. Your self-investment is the single most powerful tool in reshaping your love life. It is the signal to the universe that you are not available to mediocrity, that you will not settle, and that the emotional energy you have cultivated is sacred. And the moment you make this choice, everything changes. Men who are unprepared fall away. Men who are capable rise to meet you. And the love that remains is not accidental. It is intentional, earned, and transformational. Because when you invest in yourself first, you attract only what matches the fullness, the value, and the depth of who you have become. And that is how women over 30 create love that is real, lasting, and worthy of every ounce of their heart. Boundaries are one of the most misunderstood concepts in relationships, yet they are among the most powerful tools a woman over 30 can wield. So many people think of boundaries as walls, as rigid obstacles that keep others out. They imagine that setting limits is cold, unloving, or a rejection. But in reality, boundaries are not barriers. They are filters. They are a mechanism to distinguish between those who are willing to honor you and those who are not. They clarify who deserves your time, your trust, and your heart, and they protect you from investing in people who cannot meet you where you are. Think about it this way. Every boundary you set communicates your self-worth. It is a declaration. This is what I will accept. This is what I will not. Boundaries are not meant to punish or control others. They are meant to safeguard your emotional energy and to cultivate respect. A man who reacts negatively to a boundary is not a man ready for connection. He is a man unprepared to honor you. A man who respects your boundary, even when it inconveniences him, is demonstrating a readiness for real intimacy. Boundaries reveal character. They filter out those who cannot rise to the level of integrity, empathy, and commitment required for partnership. For women over 30, boundaries are essential because experience has taught you what is worth your investment. You know that saying yes to everything, tolerating inconsistency, or excusing behavior that erodes your peace comes at a cost. Boundaries are the antidote to that cost. They protect your time, your energy, and your heart. They give you permission to prioritize your needs without guilt, and they create a standard that a worthy man must meet if he wants to be part of your life. Boundaries also teach men how to love you properly. Many men never learned what it means to respect a woman's limits because they were never held accountable for crossing them. By enforcing your boundaries, you are giving them a roadmap. You are teaching them how to show up in a relationship with integrity, patience, and care. When a man respects your boundary, he is saying, I see you, I value you. I am willing to meet you on your terms. That is not a sign of weakness on your part. It is a sign of wisdom. Another truth about boundaries is that they prevent resentment. Without boundaries, you give more than is healthy. You tolerate behavior that undermines you, and over time, you accumulate frustration and disappointment. Boundaries allow you to love freely without fear of depletion. They let you invest in a relationship with clarity and choice, rather than out of habit, guilt, or fear of losing someone who does not deserve your heart. Boundaries are also a form of self-respect that attracts the right kind of men. A man who sees that you have standards, that you will not compromise your peace, that you will not accept disrespect, immediately understands that he must step up or step aside. Those who are unwilling to meet your standards naturally fall away, leaving space for someone who is capable, ready, and aligned with your values. Boundaries filter not only behavior, they filter intention, character, and compatibility. It is important to recognize that setting boundaries is not about perfection. You will test, refine, and adjust them as you learn more about yourself and your partner. What matters is the principle: your emotional energy is precious, and you have the right to decide who can access it. Boundaries prevent emotional leakage. They protect your confidence, your peace, and your ability to love without compromise. For many women, enforcing boundaries can feel uncomfortable at first. There is often fear of rejection or loneliness, or concern that a man will walk away if you are firm. But the truth is that the men who are truly capable of love will not walk away. They will rise to meet you. And those who leave, they were never meant to be part of your journey. Boundaries do not close doors. They illuminate the ones that lead to fulfillment. Boundaries also reinforce clarity in communication. They teach both you and him what is acceptable, what is desired, and what is non-negotiable. This clarity eliminates ambiguity, reduces conflict, and prevents the energy-draining cycles that occur when expectations are unstated or ignored. A man who respects your boundary communicates through actions that he is serious, mature, and invested. That is the very foundation of real connection. Boundaries, in essence, are filters for respect, and respect is the currency of a healthy relationship. Without respect, no amount of chemistry, attraction, or shared experience can sustain a partnership. By establishing clear limits, you ensure that the men who remain in your life are those capable of honoring your heart, your time, and your values. Boundaries are not obstacles. They are invitations for the right man to prove his worth. In practice, boundaries can look like small daily decisions or major life choices. It could mean saying no to text messages that are disrespectful, choosing not to accommodate behavior that undermines your peace, or requiring honesty, consistency, and emotional presence from the very beginning. Each boundary sends a message. Your heart is not disposable, and your love is not free for anyone who is unprepared to earn it. Ultimately, boundaries are a declaration of self-love and empowerment. They allow you to navigate relationships with intentionality, discernment, and wisdom. They protect your emotional energy, filter out the unworthy, and attract the men who are capable of giving, honoring, and sustaining love at your level. They transform your dating life from a series of compromises and disappointments into a journey of alignment, mutual respect, and genuine connection. When you understand that boundaries are not barriers, but filters, you realize their true power. They make space for the love you deserve, the respect you require, and the partnership you have always hoped for. And once you embrace that truth, you will find that the right men naturally rise to meet you, while those who cannot honor your heart fade away, leaving room for a love that is real, lasting, and worthy of every boundary you have ever set. Choosing yourself first is a concept that is often misunderstood. Many women fear that prioritizing their own needs, their own happiness, and their own growth will lead to loneliness, that by saying me first, they will push love away. But in reality, the opposite is true. Choosing yourself first is what creates the foundation for deeper, more meaningful love. When you honor your own heart, your own desires, and your own standards, you set the stage for a relationship that is not based on dependence, compromise out of fear, or a need for validation, but on genuine connection, mutual respect, and shared joy. When a woman chooses herself first, she communicates an unshakable truth. Her worth is inherent, her heart is precious, and her love is not negotiable. She no longer chases men who are inconsistent, unavailable, or emotionally immature. She no longer sacrifices her peace for temporary affection. And here is the remarkable paradox. When she stops chasing, when she stops settling, the men who are capable of real love are drawn to her naturally because they recognize a woman who is whole, grounded, and self-respecting, and they respond to her presence with integrity, effort, and devotion. Choosing yourself first also transforms your inner world. Too often, women wait for external validation, affection, or approval to feel worthy. They hope a man's attention will complete them or heal their insecurities. But when you choose yourself first, you take full responsibility for your own happiness. You cultivate self-esteem that is not dependent on anyone else, and that internal stability radiates outward. A man who is capable of love will be drawn to that strength because it signals that he is no longer in a dynamic of chasing or proving himself. Love becomes a partnership between two whole individuals rather than a dance of need and supply. Another aspect of choosing yourself first is clarity. When your needs, standards, and boundaries are non-negotiable, you gain an extraordinary level of clarity about the kind of love you will accept. You no longer tolerate behaviors that are disrespectful, inconsistent, or emotionally draining. You are able to distinguish between temporary attraction and sustainable connection, between chemistry and compatibility. This clarity eliminates wasted time and heartbreak, and it ensures that the love you do invite into your life is aligned with your values and your worth. Choosing yourself first is also a powerful lesson in patience. When you honor your own life, your own dreams, and your own rhythm, you are no longer desperate for love to fill gaps that should not exist. You are willing to wait for a man who meets you at your level, rather than compromise for someone who cannot. This patience is not passive, it is active discernment. And it ensures that when love does arrive, it is built on solid ground, not fear, need, or scarcity. It is also worth noting that choosing yourself first does not mean rejecting love. It means demanding the right kind of love. Many women fear that self-prioritization will lead to isolation, but in truth, it filters out relationships that are unworthy, unsafe, or misaligned. It protects your heart from energy-draining partnerships and allows space for a man who is capable of giving, nurturing, and sustaining a love that matches your depth. Loneliness may exist temporarily when you are learning to honor yourself, but it is not the same as the isolation that comes from being with someone who cannot or will not meet you fully. Choosing yourself first nurtures self-confidence, and confidence is magnetic. A woman who invests in herself, protects her heart, and refuses to settle emits an energy that signals value, strength, and self-respect. This energy draws men who are serious, intentional, and capable of partnership, while naturally repelling those who are unprepared or unwilling to rise to her level. In other words, prioritizing yourself increases the quality of men you attract. It does not diminish the possibility of love. When you choose yourself first, you also create the capacity to give love without losing yourself. Women who neglect their own needs, desires, or growth often pour into a partner in ways that are unsustainable, leading to resentment, burnout, and imbalance. Choosing yourself first ensures that your love is abundant rather than depleting, that your care is generous rather than conditional, and that your presence in a relationship is authentic rather than performative. This is how deep, lasting love is created, through reciprocity, mutual respect, and the ability to maintain your individuality while sharing your life. Choosing yourself first is also a radical act of empowerment. It signals to the universe and to every man you encounter that your heart is sacred and that your life is precious. It communicates that you will not compromise your standards, tolerate inconsistency, or settle for anything less than what you deserve. And in doing so, you attract men who are capable of rising to meet you, not just in words, but in actions. Perhaps most importantly, choosing yourself first allows you to love without fear. Fear often arises from dependence, from the belief that if you prioritize yourself, you will lose love or companionship. But when you understand that real love is reciprocal, that it thrives in the space between two whole individuals, fear dissolves. You no longer cling to what is unworthy. You no longer chase what is fleeting. Instead, you stand in your full power, radiating the confidence, wisdom, and self-respect that invites love of the highest quality. Ultimately, choosing yourself first transforms your love life from a series of compromises and disappointments into a journey of alignment and fulfillment. It is the decision to honor your worth, protect your heart, and invest your energy intentionally. It is the recognition that the love you deserve is not accidental. It must be earned, nurtured, and reciprocated. When you put yourself first, you create the conditions for love that is not only deep and sustaining, but also liberating, joyous, and aligned with your true self. Because the woman who chooses herself first is the woman who attracts a man capable of meeting her fully. She is the woman whose love is cherished, whose heart is honored, and whose life is enhanced, not complicated by partnership. And that is the kind of love that lasts, that nurtures, and that fulfills every promise of connection she has ever hoped for. Choosing yourself first is not selfish. It is sacred. It is the foundation for love that is authentic, deep, and transformative. And when you make that choice, loneliness is replaced by freedom, doubt is replaced by clarity, and every relationship that enters your life has the potential to be the kind of love you have always dreamed of, because it arrives on your terms, earned and deserving of the woman you have become. When you choose yourself first, you also redefine your relationship with time. Too many women pour themselves into men who are not ready, giving years of energy, emotion, and effort to someone who ultimately cannot meet them at their level. But when you prioritize yourself, you reclaim that time. You invest it in growth, in experiences, in friendships, in health, and in pursuits that enrich your life. And here's the secret: men notice. The right men are attracted not to desperation, need, or dependence, but to abundance, the abundance of a life fully lived. By choosing yourself, you are no longer orbiting someone else's life, you are living your own. And that magnetism draws men who are capable of partnership into your orbit naturally. Choosing yourself first also strengthens your voice. When you know your worth, your values, and your boundaries, you speak with clarity and confidence. You no longer negotiate away your desires or silence your needs to keep someone else comfortable. You express what you need, what you want, and what you will accept without apology. And that is profoundly attractive. A man who is serious about love wants a partner who can communicate authentically, who can assert herself without fear, and who can engage in mutual problem solving. Your strength, your clarity, and your assertiveness become an invitation for him to rise, to match your level of emotional, mental, and spiritual engagement. Moreover, choosing yourself first teaches discernment. When you honor your heart, you learn to read the subtle signals that indicate whether a man is capable of real love. You notice patterns early: consistency, respect, accountability, emotional availability, because you are tuned into your own needs. You no longer excuse behavior that does not serve you, rationalize inconsistency, or hope that someone will grow into your standards. Instead, you assess reality honestly, and you make choices that preserve your energy and protect your heart. This discernment is a superpower. It allows you to focus on relationships that have the potential for genuine connection while avoiding those that will drain you emotionally. Choosing yourself first also cultivates resilience. When your happiness and self-worth are grounded in yourself rather than in someone else's attention or approval, you become emotionally resilient. You are less vulnerable to disappointment, rejection, or the fluctuations of someone else's mood or commitment. This resilience is magnetic. It attracts men who are secure, stable, and ready for partnership. It repels men who are insecure, inconsistent, or unwilling to invest the effort required to match your strength. Another profound benefit of choosing yourself first is that it transforms the way you love. Love given from scarcity, where you seek validation, fear abandonment, or compromise your values, is never fully satisfying. But love given from abundance, where you are grounded, self-aware, and whole, becomes transformative. When you prioritize yourself, your love is intentional, not reactionary. It is generous, but not at the expense of your peace. It is nurturing, but not dependent. And it naturally fosters reciprocity, because a man capable of real love recognizes the value of what he has been given and responds in kind. Choosing yourself first also frees you from the trap of conditional love. Too often, women stay in relationships hoping to be seen, hoping to be valued, hoping that their presence will awaken someone's capacity for love. But when you put yourself first, you no longer settle for love that is conditional or inconsistent. You only accept love that is earned, sustained, and aligned with your standards. This is not selfish. It is wise. It ensures that your heart is respected and that the love you receive reflects your true worth. Importantly, choosing yourself first fosters emotional freedom. You are no longer tied to someone else's validation or dependent on their presence to feel complete. You are free to experience life fully, to pursue your passions, to cultivate joy, and to engage with the world without compromise. And this freedom is attractive. Men who are ready for deep connection are drawn to women who are independent, self-assured, and capable of experiencing life fully on their own. Freedom, confidence, and self-respect create a magnetism that is impossible to ignore. When you choose yourself first, you also set the stage for equality in relationships. You are not seeking to fill gaps, rescue someone from their own immaturity, or carry the weight of their emotional baggage. Instead, you seek partnership, a union between two whole individuals who contribute equally to the relationship. This equality fosters trust, mutual respect, and authentic intimacy. A man who is capable of real love will see this and respond with effort, consistency, and presence. Those who cannot match your level naturally fall away, leaving room for a connection that is balanced, nourishing, and enduring. Finally, choosing yourself first creates a model for the love you want. The way you treat yourself sets the standard for how a man will treat you. If you show up for your own needs, honor your boundaries, invest in your growth, and protect your peace, a man who is capable of real love will rise to meet that standard. Love then becomes a reflection of the respect, care, and intention you bring to your own life. The beauty of choosing yourself first is that it is both a shield and a beacon. It shields you from disappointment, heartbreak, and emotional depletion. It is a filter that ensures only those who are ready, capable, and deserving can enter your life. At the same time, it is a beacon signaling to the right man that you are whole, confident, and ready for love of the highest quality. In the end, choosing yourself first does not lead to loneliness. It leads to alignment. It leads to clarity, freedom, and the kind of love that is intentional, reciprocal, and sustaining. It allows you to enter a relationship not from a place of need, fear, or scarcity, but from a place of strength, confidence, and abundance. And that is the love every woman over 30 deserves. A love that is earned, cherished, and fully aligned with the life she has intentionally built and the woman she has become. Your heart is not a resource to be given freely. It is a treasure. And when you choose yourself first, you ensure that it is held, honored, and valued in every relationship you enter. That is not selfish. That is wisdom. That is self-respect. And that is how you create a love that is deep, authentic, and lasting. If you want, I can continue this section even further, expanding on practical ways women can choose themselves first in daily life to immediately raise the quality of men they attract. This next layer makes the speech feel actionable and deeply empowering. Do you want me to continue in that direction?